Forbes, Senior Mental Health Practitioner with Southern GP Federation. Today I'm talking about low mood, and we wanted to make this video because low mood is a very general term that can describe so many different things that might be going on for somebody, and we're going to unpick that a little bit more in this video. So let's start with a typical cycle of low mood. So we'll start with the low mood. That can be from the moment you get out of bed in the morning, you know it, it's that heaviness in the body, you know it's there. What a lot of people say when their mood is low is that they have this sense of loss of achievement or pleasure. They describe going through the motions but not getting anything from it, feeling quite numb, feeling quite disconnected, almost that feeling of being on a treadmill or going through your life and observing yourself. What naturally happens after that is people start withdrawing or reducing more from their day-to-day activities or their lives, which makes sense because if you're getting nothing from it, why would you do it? The next bit that happens is this low motivation and energy. People have said to me with low mood, I know I'm not physically unwell, but the thought of getting out of bed, doing the simplest of tasks can feel overwhelming. Our thoughts tend to change when our mood's low. What's the point? Is this ever going to get any better? I'm such a failure, I can't do my day-to-day things in life, which feeds right back into low mood. The reason this cycle is also very powerful is if you try to break it at various points, it really fights back. So for example, if I was to go, I know I've been reducing more in my day-to-day life, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to go out today, and I'm going to do some of the things that I've been avoiding. And then we can get a lovely panic attack, and that's where you get that nice combination with, anxiety and low mood working together. And it might be that you pushed yourself one day and the backflow into that is suddenly the energy and the motivation have dipped even less, and that's made you feel even more tired. And then we have even more stronger thoughts, I can't even do the basic things anymore. And that's where shame and then the risk with low mood can then increase at that point. Now, I really want to be clear that low mood is up there with the top 4 illnesses in the UK. This is not as simple as snapping out of it. It's a genuine illness for people, and a lot of people will need some support to overcome it, okay? Now, that's a cycle of low mood, and what I want to think about next is that rarely happens on its own. It tends to happen in more of a context with maybe other things going on around it. But before I go on to that, I really do want to say for some people it is what we would call a biological low mood. There is no reason. The mood has dipped and there doesn't appear to be any reason for that. And that's really, I think that's actually worse, because as humans we like to understand, we like to have reasons. So that can be really challenging to get your head around. I don't know why this has happened to me. My life's great. Why am I feeling like this? But you still might absolutely need some support. So thinking a little bit more about the context, and in Blue Peter style, for those old enough to remember Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. So the first one up here, low mood that has followed after a period of doing less. So by that, I mean, has there been a period in someone's life where you naturally have had to be at home? Maybe there's been a relationship breakdown, maybe there's been a job loss, maybe there's been physical illness, maybe there's been surgery, you've been told to stay at home. And because the world has become a little bit smaller and you've been more housebound, low mood has jumped in on the back of that. The next one is particularly around thoughts. If somebody is really powerfully saying to me, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I probably will ask them, where did you learn that thought? Has anybody talked to you about that at any point in your life? Yes, actually, mum might have said that to me a lot when I was younger. Or somebody might say, no, never, that's not coming into that for me at all. The other part of thoughts is alongside feelings. How were feelings in your family growing up? Was it fine to talk about if you were sad or angry or happy? Or was it things like, big boys don't cry, don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about? Were feelings very much kept inside? The next one here is, have you had an understandable reaction to an awful situation? So by that I mean things like, has there been a bereavement? Has somebody in your family or yourself just got a diagnosis of cancer? You know, have you had some really bad news? A lot of people would talk to me about nightmare neighbours that are making their lives very, very difficult. Are you experiencing work-related burnout? I also see a lot of people where there's been a relationship breakdown and the ex might be, you know, spreading some really awful information. So the reason for the mood makes sense because it's a reaction to some really, really difficult situations. That's not to say somebody doesn't need help. It's just to say that it's understandable in terms of what's going on. Are your basic needs being met? So immediately this springs to mind new mums who are probably not getting any more than 3 hours sleep in one go at night because maybe they're feeding the baby and they're up all of the time. Probably one of the referrals I would get a lot from GPs is somebody's about to be evicted, they haven't got money for food, they haven't got money for electric, and they're depressed. Of course you would be, anyone would be, because again, those basic needs aren't being met. Are there hormonal mood changes? So I'm particularly thinking about women at certain points in their cycles. So before a bleed, women can experience mood changes. So again, that would be for women just to track their cycle through the month and see if there are changes at certain times in the cycle. Is there an untreated pain or illness? So untreated pain can really impact people's mood. If you're walking around with pain and it's meaning you can't do as much as you used to do, the mood will probably drop. And is there an untreated illness? It's probably worth getting your bloods done just to rule anything out. There might be low thyroid, there might be low iron, there might be an untreated infection, which again, all of those would impact mood. What does the structure to your day look like? I'm thinking about working mums and dads that are flat to the mat. They're up, they're doing the school run, they're getting the kids out the house, they're going to work, they're coming home, they're then taking the kids to after school, they're doing homeworks, and then they sit down at a heap in front of the TV at about 9 o'clock falling asleep. We all need elements of pleasure and achievement in our day to improve our mood. So if our day is all about duty or getting things done, we can start losing sense of what we enjoy doing that's just for us. Alcohol here is the next one. So a lot of people will use alcohol to manage mood. It absolutely increases your dopamine for a short period of time, and then that absolutely plateaus. So it will make you feel good for a short-term period, and then if you're using alcohol or any substances over a long-term period, the mood will probably drop and anxiety will increase. A seasonal mood change. So I've been working in mental health for nearly 20 years, and no matter what service I've worked in, July and August are always the quietest, and January, February, March are always the busiest. And I don't think that's a coincidence in terms of how much daylight we're getting at those key points. The last one here is, a lot of people would come in and talk to me. It's probably got an identity theme to it of, who am I? And this can happen at any point in life. This can be as you're getting to know yourself in your teens and your early 20s, or it can be later in life where maybe you've done what's been expected of you, maybe in terms of work, and suddenly you're thinking, is this who I am? It can also be about sexuality, it can be about gender, but it's that real sense that the body's going, I don't think this is who you are, or I don't think this is what's going to make you happy long term. So I'm hoping this video has given you some ideas and maybe some thoughts around low mood. Although it's the same title, it can mean very different things for different people. And you know, this list isn't exhaustive. There might be other things going on here too. As a starting point, please do reach out to your local GP surgery, especially if the mood isn't shifting. Some moods will shift on their own within about a month. If it's not shifting and maybe all the things that you've done before to manage your mood, or this just feels very different, please contact your GP surgery to get in touch, especially if you're having thoughts about not wanting to be alive. That is absolutely the time to come and speak to us in the GP surgery. The final message that I wanted to say is that low mood absolutely wipes motivation and energy for a lot of people. And I know I've spoken to people about this list, and the simplest of things can feel overwhelming. Like, this all sounds great, Kelly, but I'm not sure I can even pick up the phone and speak to a GP and make the first step here. And to me, it's really important to distinguish motivation and probably the word discipline. Motivation is that lovely feeling that you get where you go, I'm going to do this, and it feels good. It feels good, the intention feels good, the energy's there. Low mood won't give you that, and it probably won't give you that, so don't wait for it. For me, discipline is about going, I really don't want to do this, but I think it could be a good first step, and it could be a step in the right direction for me. Thank you.